The world is full of surprises. One minute, you're having a normal day. The next, wham! Something shocking, unbelievable, or downright crazy happens right before your eyes. Often fleeting and unpredictable, these moments can leave us speechless, questioning reality itself. But what if there was proof? Thankfully, in some cases, someone captures these once-in-a-lifetime events for the world to see. From near misses with meteors to death on live TV, today I'm looking at nature's raw power, the times we witness history unfold, and the resilience of the human spirit, all captured in a single frame. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are the 25 craziest events caught on video. 25. The meteor exploding over Chelyabinsk. On February 15, 2013, the world was stunned when footage of a previously undetected meteor exploding over the Russian city of Chelyabinsk made it to our screens. The explosion created a flash brighter than the sun, and a powerful shockwave, packing the force of 500 kilotons of TNT, which is 30 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, ripped through the city. Windows shattered, buildings were damaged, and over 1,500 people were injured. The event was captured on countless cameras and dash cams. It gave us a wealth of footage that revealed the meteor's theatrical descent and impact, making it one of the best documented meteor events in history. 24. An eruption in Iceland. In March 2010, Iceland's sleeping giant Eyjafjallajökull woke up after nearly 2 centuries of peaceful slumber. What began as a seemingly minor eruption on March 20th escalated dramatically by April 14th. Plumes of ash reached kilometers into the sky. Thanks in part to Iceland's comprehensive volcanic monitoring network, the eruption was unlike anything Europe had seen in recent years. Webcams stationed all around Eyjafjallajökull captured the fiery spectacle in real time, while satellites orbiting Earth kept a watchful eye from above, tracking the ash cloud's movement and spread. The eruption caused widespread disruption and ended up grounding flights across Europe for days. 23. The Beirut explosion. On August 4th, 2020, the citizens of Beirut were living through a totally ordinary day, completely unaware that tragedy was about to strike. Just after 6 p.m., thousands of tons of improperly stored ammonium nitrate detonated in the city's harbor. The explosion ripped through the port, transforming the bustling hub into a scene of utter devastation. It's believed that the blast was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. Over 200 people lost their lives, more than 6,000 injured, and 300,000 were left homeless. 22. The Columbia disaster. On January 16, 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia embarked on its 28th mission. The crew conducted all kinds of experiments and transmitted images back to Earth. All in all, it was actually a good trip. The astronauts even exceeded scientists' expectations in terms of science obtained. Then, on February 1st, as Columbia prepared for re-entry, disaster struck. The shuttle disintegrated while entering the Earth's atmosphere. Sonic booms echoed across the landscape, followed by the heart-wrenching sight of debris streaking like fire across the clear morning sky. In the aftermath, the 3 remaining shuttles, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour, were grounded for over 2 years while NASA did an overhaul of its safety procedures. 21. A scary day at the zoo. Zoos are supposed to be fun, right? Well, in 2016, one day at the Cincinnati Zoo turned out to be everything but. A 4-year-old boy managed to climb through a fence and fell into the gorilla enclosure. One of the gorillas, a huge silverback named Harambe, noticed the boy and approached him. As you can imagine, the situation got tense between all the screaming people and confused gorillas, with Harambe even dragging the boy to another part of the enclosure. Zookeepers then faced a heart-wrenching decision. Fearing for the boy's safety, they made the tough call to euthanize Harambe. He was killed 1 day after his 17th birthday. 20. The Todd Todd Clash. Every country has seen its fair share of bloody battles. Some, however, seem to see a bit more than others. In 2000, in the Philippines, a religious group, the Todd Todd, clashed with army troops during a deadly standoff. It all started when soldiers arrived to arrest Alfredo Opciona, the group's leader. Things went south quickly. The Todd Todd members, fiercely loyal and armed with homemade weapons, refused to hand over their leader, and an already tense situation escalated into a firefight. 20 lives were lost, including the group's leader, several soldiers, and an innocent civilian caught in the crossfire. 19. The Hudson River plane crash. Can you remember where you were on the super cold January afternoon in 2009 when a plane landing turned into a worldwide spectacle? That was US Airways Flight 1549, the plane that hit a flock of geese right after takeoff, putting it into a perilous situation. With nerves of steel, Captain Chelsea Sully Sullenberger managed to land the plane on the Hudson River, and all 155 people on board survived. Reports from newsrooms everywhere went crazy for the incredible feat of skill and heroism that has come to be known as the Miracle on the Hudson. 18. The tornado outbreak in Joplin, Missouri. You can be sure that things are about to get real when your local news station tells you to take cover immediately. In 2011, those incredible CGI tornado scenes we all love to see in disaster movies became a reality for the citizens of Joplin, Missouri, when an F5 tornado touched down and carved a path of destruction through the city. The captured footage is a harsh reminder of the raw power of nature, and sadly, the human cost was immense. 158 lives were lost, making it the deadliest tornado in the US in over 60 years. 17. The Brazilian mudslides. In early 2011, disaster struck the mountains near Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Heavy rains turned into deadly mudslides that tore through the towns and cities. Entire communities were buried under mud, houses were destroyed, and roads were washed away. The devastation was heartbreaking. Thousands of people lost everything they owned in the blink of an eye. Rescue teams raced against time to find survivors, but sadly, close to 1,000 people lost their lives in what became known as one of Brazil's worst natural disasters. 16. Gary Plauche's revenge. On March 16, 1984, a tragic event in Louisiana shocked the world. On live TV, Gary Plauche, a father grappling with immense grief, shot and killed Jeff Doucette, the man who had preyed on his 11-year-old son Jody for over a year. As news cameras rolled and officers asked him why, Gary simply said, "If somebody did it to your kid, you'd do it too." 15. The Portland Parade road rage incident. If you can stomach it, you should definitely watch the extended dashcam footage of the reckless driver disrupting the Portland Grand Floral Parade in June 2023. Ignoring road closures and endangering countless lives, Sidney Sean Meekum weaved his truck around barricades and sped onto the parade route. The footage shows a blatant disregard for safety, with Meekum's vehicle narrowly avoiding pedestrians, including children playing on the closed-off street. He was arrested and charged with recklessly endangering another person, disorderly conduct, attempt to elude, and reckless driving. 14. The attack on Charlie Hebdo. It's a sad fact that the worst events usually unite us in ways never thought possible. In January 2015, the offices of Charlie Hebdo, a French satirical magazine, were attacked by extremists. The armed attackers stormed the building and killed the publication's journalists, cartoonists, and staff on site. In the aftermath, we witnessed a global outcry and a recognition of the dangers faced by those who push the boundaries through freedom of speech and expression. 13. Malice at the Palace. Do you remember those epic fights that would break out in the stands at sporting events back in the day? Well, I think Malice at the Palace takes the cake. It all went down in November 2004 during a heated rematch between the Indiana Pacers and the Detroit Pistons. Things got chippy on the court, and then some knucklehead decided to throw a drink at Indiana's Ron Artest. Let's just say everything went downhill from there. Artest jumped into the crowd, and the brawl ended up on the court. Players, fans, it was a total free-for-all. The final 45.9 seconds were never played, and the Pacers refused to return to the court, handing the win to the Pistons. You know what else is crazy? The fact that you haven't liked, shared, commented, or subscribed yet. It really helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to check out our socials. 12. The death of Dale Earnhardt Sr. For our international viewers who might not be familiar with NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt Sr. was a true racing legend. Imagine the Tiger Woods of stock car racing. The man was a 7-time NASCAR champion with a fierce nickname, the Intimidator. Just watch Days of Thunder if you need a visual. On February 18, 2001, at the Daytona 500, which is NASCAR's biggest race, the Super Bowl of stock car racing, Earnhardt was inches from securing a podium finish when he crashed during his last lap. He was no stranger to accidents, but this one had a heartbreaking outcome. In the wake of this loss, NASCAR prioritized safety. New and stricter regulations were implemented, including the now mandatory head and neck restraints. 11. The Balloon Boy hoax. Do you remember the Balloon Boy incident of 2009? Richard Heen claimed his 6-year-old son Falcon was trapped inside the runaway helium-filled gas balloon, and millions of people tuned in to watch the action live. National Guard helicopters were scrambled, and the world watched in horror as the balloon eventually reached a height of 7,000 feet or 2,100 meters during the 90-minute flight before it landed about 12 miles or 19 kilometers from the Denver International Airport. However, Falcon was nowhere near the balloon. He was, in fact, hiding in their attic. The elaborate stunt backfired spectacularly, and the parents ended up facing felony charges. 10. The Vanderlei de Lima tackle. Can you imagine training for years running the Olympic marathon and making it to the front of the pack? That was Vanderlei de Lima in 2004. And then his dream race turned into a nightmare. With a comfortable lead, he was suddenly tackled by a spectator. The deranged act, by a defrocked Irish priest no less, threw de Lima off course and cost him precious time. But despite the setback, he got back into the race, and after giving it his all, finished with the bronze medal. 9. JetBlue Flight 292. In 2005, JetBlue Flight 292 took off for New York, but the plane, carrying 140 passengers, had a major malfunction. The nose landing gear had jammed sideways, and they couldn't land. Quick thinking by the pilot led to a dramatic detour to LAX. They flew in a figure-8 pattern over the Pacific for hours, burning fuel to lessen the landing weight. News cameras captured the scene, but the situation became even more surreal for passengers on board. Because JetBlue equips its planes with satellite television, they were all witnessing their drama unfold live. Finally, with emergency crews on standby, the plane touched down at LAX. Sparks flew, but everyone arrived safely. 8. Felix Baumgartner and Red Bull Stratos. In 2012, Felix Baumgartner took a dive back to Earth from the edge of space. Tell me you took the time out of your busy day to witness it. Please let me know that you took time out of your day to witness it. The Red Bull Stratos mission saw him ascend 24 miles into the stratosphere in a helium balloon. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, he stepped out and plunged back down towards the Earth. His pressure suit kept him alive as he broke the sound barrier in freefall, becoming the first human to do so outside an aircraft. 7. The Mumbai attacks. Many of you probably remember the devastating terrorist attacks that turned Mumbai into a war zone. In 2008, 10 armed men hijacked cars and turned, among other places, luxury hotels, a Jewish center, and a popular cafe into nightmare fuel. The world could only look on in shock as over 160 people, including foreign tourists, were killed, and Indian commandos fought valiantly to take back the city of Mumbai. In the end, only one of the 10 attackers was left alive to face the consequences. The attack was a terrifying reminder of how quickly our infrastructure can be upturned by those looking to cause harm. 6. The Iran hostage crisis. In November 1979, the Iranian Revolution exploded onto the world stage. Just as the deposed Shah of Iran arrived in the US, a radical student group stormed the American embassy in Tehran, taking 66 Americans hostage. These weren't soldiers nor spies, but diplomats, embassy workers, just regular, ordinary people forced into a horrifying situation. After a brief release of some hostages, 52 remained. For 444 days, they endured blindfolds, mock trials, and constant fear. The standoff stretched into the 1980 US election, basically ending President Carter's terms in office, whether he wanted to or not. On January 21, 1981, just hours after Reagan's inaugural address, the remaining hostages were finally released. 5. The Oscars streaker. Despite hiring some of America's greatest comedians to host, the Oscars often face criticism for being disappointingly unfunny. However, 1974 turned out to be an exception. During that year's ceremony, a 33-year-old man named Robert Opel did a naked streak across the stage just as actor David Niven was about to present the award for Best Picture. As the streaker dashed off camera, Niven delivered one of the Academy Awards' greatest lines ever.
But isn't it fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get in his life is by stripping off and showing his shortcomings.
The entire episode was broadcast live on NBC and would go on to become one of the most memorable moments in Oscars history. 4. A coup. In 2021, Myanmar's King Hin-Wai became an overnight internet sensation for the craziest reason. Filming her usual energetic aerobics routine, she had no idea that history was literally unfolding right behind her. Lost in the rhythm of techno-pop music, King Hin-Wai was completely oblivious to a line of ominous black vehicles rolling past, the country's military staging a coup d'etat. The coup, which led to the detention of de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi and the declaration of a year-long state of emergency, memorialized a significant turn in Myanmar's turbulent political landscape. 3. A North Korean defector. We don't always appreciate just how good we have it. In a dramatic and risky escape in 2017, a North Korean soldier defected to South Korea, and every heart-pounding moment was captured on video. The footage shows the defector fleeing across the border village of Panmunjom, initially driving a military vehicle before crashing and continuing on foot. Pursued and shot by his compatriots, he was hit at least 5 times before collapsing just south of the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. South Korean troops courageously crawled to the wounded defector and dragged him back to safety. The defector, who later regained consciousness, showed signs of recovery after undergoing multiple surgeries. 2. Death on live TV. Laughter turned into horror in 1984 when legendary comedian Tommy Cooper died while live on television. The beloved Welsh funnyman was in the middle of his routine when he collapsed on stage. Accustomed to his slapstick style, the audience roared with laughter, mistaking his fall for a comedic bit. Only host Jimmy Tarbuck grasped the gravity of the situation, frantically calling for a commercial break. Behind the scenes, a desperate attempt to revive Cooper was underway. Sadly, it was too late, and he was declared dead upon his arrival at the hospital. 1. The Pizza Bomber. In 2003, America witnessed a bank robbery unlike any other. Pizza delivery man Brian Wells arrived at the delivery location only to be strapped with a bomb collar. Forced to rob a bank for a measly $8,702, police apprehended him while the device continued to tick down the minutes. His desperate pleas for help were cut short when the bomb detonated in front of the rolling cameras. The case became a national obsession and left investigators scratching their heads for years. The worst part was that, according to the investigators, there were so many stages in place to deactivate the bomb that Wells would have died no matter what they did, which just goes to show that the truth behind a crime can often be stranger than fiction. And that's a wrap. If today's list piqued your curiosity, be sure to check out our previous list, 25 Facts That'll Scare You, where we delved into everything from safety coffins to murder hornets and everything in between. Whether you're a horror enthusiast or just looking for a good scare, these creepy facts will leave you questioning what goes bump in the night. To watch that video now, simply click on this link right here.